What about these maps? You need these back.
No, I don't. I'm going to use those because me and you are going to talk with those.
Okay,
Today is
got you.
August 2nd. All right.
We can get started anytime you're ready.
We're already started.
Good.
What I presented Ray with today is some detailed maps of Incheon and of Korea. I've also brought a list of the killed and missing in action from the northeast side of the reservoir at Chosin, which was kind of a unique find. And this is from a book from a guy named Ray Velo. Ray Velo has taken up the challenge of representing what happened on the eastern side, because the Marine Corps was pretty good at leaving the Army out of the equation. Here's what I found out. General Walker was running the 8th Division when you all landed in Incheon. General O.B. Smith was running the Marine Corps. And General Allman, who was in charge of 10th Corps, the Marines were attached to him under his command. There is an island just off of the beach at Incheon. And Ray, that's where you landed. They went in 2 tides. The
Right.
first tide was in the morning, and the tides would move as much as 33 feet from low end to high end. So they had to make 2 different approaches. The first one was in the morning, and you recall being there at daylight. So that makes you on the island with 10th Corps. Everything fits the history there. At Incheon, that evening is when the Marine Corps moved in to Incheon. Your 10th Corps, the X-Corps, they traveled to Incheon after the second landing. You probably landed on Blue Beach, which is on the south side. Red Beach was on the north. You all take the airport at Suwon, which is just south of, southwest of Seoul. And the Marines take the airport at Kimpo, K-I-M-P-O.
Yeah, right.
And then you all move in and handle off the western and northwestern side of Seoul, and you pretty much got the whole city surrounded at this point. The Chinese know that they're overcome, and they start exiting the city. But
And that was the North Koreans, I think,
yeah, the North Koreans.
not the Chinese.
Right. The Chinese don't come in until later to play. I apologize, you're correct about
No,
that.
that's all right.
You don't mount a boat, as our previous discussion, you thought you mounted a boat at Incheon and came down to Pusan and then from Pusan to Iwan.
Right,
That's not the case.
right.
It says you traveled by land down to Pusan because about 2 weeks or a week after the Incheon landing, the North Koreans found out that they were being surrounded because MacArthur had moved them in on the northwest and basically outflanking them. But transportation for the North Korean / Chinese and information moved slowly. So once they found out word that you all had outflanked them at Incheon, they curtailed and ran their ass off back to the 38th parallel and due north.
Right, and Bobby, let me say this, is that when we withdrew or started back for the second landing at E1, okay, I didn't travel by water, I know, we traveled by foot or walking, truck, anywhere we could.
Trains, right?
Right, but the thing is that after we loaded back up on the ship, then we did.
Right,
See, I think that's where we get misunderstood it.
exactly. And that's
Right.
what I'm getting to now.
Right,
The 7th Division and the Marine Corps are loading in at Pusan, and they make their way north on the northeast side.
right,
General Allman steps in and he says, I want to save you all some legwork, and I'm going to send my 10th Corps to Iwan. And the 7th Regiment Marines come in at the base just south of that.
right. Well, another thing which we're getting way ahead is when we finally got back to Pusan after the Chinese invaded, you know. We went back to Hungnam and Hamhung. When we got back there, go ahead, After we got back there, Bobby, we regrouped, you know, got replacements. And then, of course, we went back up to where the Chinese had pushed it down. They took Sewell again and pushed it all the way down, almost to Tucson.
Right.
They was ready to conquer the whole thing. That's when the Chinese came in.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we did. Some of the stuff that left out is the fact that units from the 17th Infantry of the 7th Division loaded up in while we was back at regrouping and R&R building back up, which I think was a month or 5 weeks, whatever it took. People had their weapons, of course, and ammo and grenades, and a couple grenades ended up. You can stay in your place. A couple of grenades from time to time would end up in a fire. It was cold in hell, and people got injured. You know, grenades going off.
Wow.
So they had them turn in most of the ammo plus grenades and stuff, and they loaded some of these troops up on a train, cattle cars. So take them back up from 17th Infantry. They got ambushed.
The train did.
Yeah, and wiped out a bunch of people because they didn't have the right ammo or the fight by right. They didn't have the machine guns mounted on top. Because I remember right after then, when we moved out, we had all the ammo, weapons, and everything. The elements of the 31st Infantry. We had everything, plus we had 50-caliber machine guns mounted on top of the cattle cars, you know.
Yeah.
And we made it on through. We didn't get hit.
Right.
You know, we had to go through the mountains and everything to get back up there.
Yeah, and you ended up on the Yalu River.
Right. That was.
And this map will show you
right
where you landed at.
Yeah.
It's a place called Hainasan.
Well, yeah.
I want to say Hainasan.
See, the unit I was with 31st Infantry, we got back, but it was elements trapped. So Colonel Faith, they put him in charge of a task force to go back up to help the Marines, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to the
Marines who was surrounded to open up a withdrawal route for them to leapfrog back, or for them to pass through us. And as best I can tell, that when they passed through the unit, they didn't stop. Well, we can't print that because we're not sure. They didn't stop to set up a defense for us to come back through.
Actually,
See?
we can print that.
Yeah. Wow.
Here's McLean's orders before Colonel Faith is put in charge. Faith was moving to the west side of the reservoir to help the Marines who was supposed to move west.
Right.
But O.B. Smith puts the brakes on. He goes 2 days, he doesn't move anywhere westward. Right? And Faith was moving over there to help him out. And O.B. Smith, when he got control, he kept a regiment down at Hagaru,
Right.
which was supposed to be the backup support for you guys on the eastern flank.
Right. I think it's something like that was what I remember, you know.
Yeah, because Faith actually comes across the ice when he cuts through your division there.
Yeah.
When you all were making room for him to pass through.
Right.
But it's interesting how you ended up there, because if you look at this one map here, you come in at E1, and you make it all the way up to, I think it Hayasina or whatever. I can't pronounce it.
I can't even remember. But
all right. So then you all, sometime between the 22nd and the 26th, you all pass through the north side of the fusion, and you end up here.
Right.
McLean was over, or not McLean. McLean had that area. He had the eastern flank of the reservoir. Faith was on the western flank, on his way to support the Marines, but he's called back, and he comes across the ice literally to get to McLean to help you all and reestablish your lines.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. And Faith got killed up there.
Right. Faith gets popped.
Right.
And here's another thing. There's another map in there. I think if you look down one more, you're going to find right here. Faith comes across.
Right. Yeah.
Faith comes across the ice literally to get to here to help out McLean. Now he's got the 32nd, right?
Right,
And all this falls under the 31 Regimental Combat Team, correct?
right,
Right. You'll see, you enter the water here, you enter the ice here,
right.
and head your way.
To
He
the-
sends to, there's, at some point, as Faith moves down to this point here, this is where he gets killed at,
Right,
he's sending other people on the ice too. You are not the only one.
right, I see you did, yeah.
But I did find
That's the only way you can infiltrate back, you know, in a small group,
right.
because the Chinese was all over the area.
And what he did, what Faith did, what I understand it to do, he put all the injured, all the wounded, all the dead on the trucks.
Right, he did.
And he took full groups, you know, the biggest groups that he could get. Those were the ones that traveled with him.
Right,
The drivers on those vehicles thought it was a suicide run to be the driver for that thing,
right,
because they were sitting ducks. And the Chinese find out, as I read this book, we find out that it says it was their 80th Division that hit you in like 3 different spots. Well, this guy did some research. Turns out the 81st Division too for the PLA was hitting you all as well. You all were getting hit with the same amount of bodies, but you only had 2,500 people north of Hudam. Okay?
the whole damn thing, Bobby, you know, looking back on it, and I was a young kid then, but looking back on the whole thing without starting all this again, that you look at this KIA list of friendly troops, that's just for the 7th Division.
Right.
You know, it's real thick, you know, and I don't know how many names, 800, 1,000 on this list alone.
On that list there.
Right, and so that's just one unit. That's just 2 regiments, really, 32nd, 31st, and some artillery units. But after we got up to the Chinese border, which I feel now we should have stopped.
Yeah, it should never cross the 38th.
Right, we should have never stopped at 38th. We should have went back to 38th and stopped right then and there without having the desire to conquer all of Korea. Like, that's what started it. The North wanted the South, and ended up us being aggressors wanted the North, because we took it, and then we had it. All we had to do was withdraw back. We defeated and destroyed the army. It would have taken another 15 years for them to be able to do the same thing again.
Right.
So if we went back to 38 and set it up and had some type of understanding with them again that the agreement was to split in 38, put the North and the South, to split it and go back to the original agreement, that would be probably, I don't know, it's 800 here, I'd say probably 35, 40,000 American soldiers, or armed force people, still living today, or at least they would have lived out part of that life. Some of these kids on here was 16, 18, 19 years old. I knew some of them. I don't know about this list if I knew them, or if I can call their names, but I knew there was some over there that was younger than me, and I was 17, and I was some 15, 16. That's what they said. Those were the people. A lot of National Guard people went on active duty to come over there. But anyway, this all could have stopped, first of all, if we hadn't have been greedy. And whoever the leaders were, Truman, whoever they were, and you had General MacArthur, one of the greatest generals that ever served in the military. He really was looking for greater rewards, but he could have been told, like Truman told him when he fired him later, it just, we're not going to keep the North. We don't want it. We don't want to be the aggressors in the United Nations. We want to move back to the 38th and let's get back to the peace we had after World War II.
Right.
Let's not try to get into World War III. Once the decision was made to hold what we had, the Chinese got concerned, and besides that, they had a hell of an army. It was hard for them to feed, so they had 1 million people there that they could use to get rid of to prove the point.
Right.
And so they decided to, on the disguise of helping the North, which they don't care about North Korea, they probably wish now they never inherited it, because of the headache to them.
Right.
But the thing is that well, they decided, under the skies of helping them, that they would come across. They're still upset over us moving to Formosa. You know, the Chinese that left, China went there, and we claimed they claimed that island was independent, and it's their country, Formosa now.
Yeah.
So they were definitely upset over that. But so they had a crawl, and they was upset about that. So they used that in their own minds and other excuses to come across. And when they come across, they, like General Patton said in World War II, he was going to go through the Germans like shit through a goose, but they went through us the same way. I mean, same way. We just we had brave